All right, we're gonna move on here, and we are gonna move on to the NBA with the next topic that we have because my guy Mike Brown obviously he got to hear this the other.
You're fired.
Yep, he's out of there. And how should we feel about the Kings abruptly firing Mike Brown? And Cuzzo, I'm gonna let you begin.
Yeah. Well, we should feel like the Kings is a dysfunctional organization. That's why they won't win championships. And this is type. The Kings is doing exactly what the Kings always have done, or what dysfunctional organizations do. This is what they do, and this is why you're dysfunctional. The Kings been around in existence for over 70 years and never won a championship. Okay, they're 70-something years, they haven't won a championship. So what are we really talking about? Okay, when last time you've been to the finals? This is the same thing we were talking about before. Like, this is what we're talking about. Like, no. So you fired your head coach. You thought that was the answer? Okay, you really do? You think? What do you think? A new coach going to come in? They're going to be winning? They're going to go to championships? No, they're not. So at the end of the day, what was their record last year? Like, they was like 10 games over 500, if I'm not mistaken. It was like 40. I want to say 46 and 36, right? Something like that, or 45 and 27 or something. 37, something like that. They are under 500 right now, but they're not way out of it. I mean, they win 8 games in a row. They back in the thick of things. Like, it's not that deep. You know what I mean? But the organization probably felt, all the players, and sometimes I'll be looking at these star players over there, and they might have been tweaking up there, talking to the GM, like, I ain't really feeling playing for him. I might not sign back with y'all. Because this is what the NBA players do. They're the biggest diva league that I've ever seen. They go to ownership and GMs. I might not want to play for this coach. I don't know if I'm going to sign back with y'all. I don't know if I'm going to do this. Then they go fire the coach, thinking they're doing something for the play, and then he still leaves them anyway. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, this is just a dysfunctional organization. Mike Brown is a solid coach, right? He's a good enough coach that if he had a legitimate top 5 player in the league, he could take him to the finals. He's a good enough coach to do that. Because in the NBA, to me, you need a lot of star power. So you need like a top 5 player, right? That's who goes to the finals most of the time. You got a top 5 player that goes to the finals most of the time. Mike Brown had a top 5 player. He could take a team to the finals. So they had a solid coach there, okay? It wasn't like he's a horrible coach. He's not a horrible coach. But they are a horrible organization, okay? And they're going to get exactly what they deserve. Another non-shot in the playoffs. They're going to bring a new coach there. They're not going to win more games. They're going to still not make the playoffs, okay? That's all that's going to happen. So at the end of the day, that's just Sacramento, okay? Anyone think that we think, yo, the next 3 years, Sacramento going to win the championship? Anybody think that? No, we never thought that. You ever thought that ever? No, we never thought that. Even when they had the team with Chris Webber and them back in the day, I didn't think they was going to win a championship. No. So we never thought they was going to win a championship. Okay. They fired their coach right here. They're going to get exactly what they deserve. Another spot outside of the playoffs.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in here, and how we should feel about the firing is just a reminder of the culture in the NBA of not holding the front office and players accountable, but blaming the coach, right, for their mistakes. Absolutely. And look, I see it time and time again. You know, a former coach of the year that got fired a couple years later. I mean, for example, take a guy like, and he didn't win coach of the year, but take a guy like Kenny Atkinson in Brooklyn, right? You know, he built something special. He built a team with chemistry, glue guys, and all that, right? And it was Sean Marks who came in there, tore that up, prioritized talent over chemistry, and made the Kevin Durant deal and Kyrie Irving deal. And guess what? He got railroaded. Now, fast forward now, the Cleveland Cavaliers head coach Kenny Atkinson, number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, right? So that's a prime example. And you get guys like that don't get another shot. Like, for example, Mike Brown had to wait a long time to get a shot. Kenny Atkinson had to wait a couple years to get another shot, a long time, right? And you got the other guys that just get bounced around in rotation, like Mike Budenholzer. The list goes on, right? Some other guys like that, maybe Frank Vogel, you know. And exactly. So this is just another prime example of the organization putting the head coach at a disadvantage by prioritizing talent over fit, you know, and chemistry and other needs, you know, and obviously Mike Brown was going to be at a disadvantage. Look, when you talk about the NBA, more teams are prioritizing high level wings. Okay, who still trades for on-ball guys anymore in today's NBA, right? So when they made that move for DeMar DeRozan from the very beginning, I knew it was just a bad trade because he doesn't enhance or improve areas that need to be improved, like spacing, right, or a guy to defend the perimeter. He doesn't impact all those needs. Obviously, he's a ball stopper, right? So clearly, by them trading for an on-ball guy, I get it. He could average 20 points per game, still is obviously, but that's not a guy that's going to improve your situation. Okay, clearly. They should have made the trade for Dorian Finney-Smith had they didn't make this move. That's the move I thought that they could have made, that the Lakers made, that obviously would have improved their roster and fulfill a need. Clearly, they didn't make that move. So clearly, this had nothing to do with Mike Brown. Obviously, he's going to coach what you put in front of him. Clearly, when it comes to Mike Brown, he's just another prime example of front offices getting away with murder, getting away with their mistakes that they make, players not being held accountable for not playing good basketball and making it work. It's just the culture that we have in the NBA. And my last point really is it just makes me wonder sometimes when we talk about guys like, for example, Mike Tomlin, right, in the NFL, consistent, winner of regular season games, right, and we praise him for it. The constant winning seasons. If he was in a situation like the NBA, right, where clearly regular season wins doesn't matter because it's different than NFL. How would he last in a sport like the NBA if he doesn't win a championship? So we do have to take in context here the sport, the situation, the front office, the players, all those things matter. And sometimes you're just at the wrong place at the wrong time. And Mike Brown was.
Nah, I think it was this organization just completely don't know, like they're an organization that's been bad for quite some time now, and I think the Sacramento Kings have always made the wrong decisions at the wrong time, especially when they moved Tyrese Halliburton off the Kings right away and prioritized keeping Davion Mitchell, and then they moved Davion Mitchell all because they didn't know what they wanted to do with De'Aaron Fox. So they drafted 2 point guards after they had De'Aaron Fox already in the first round and moved them away. And didn't get really much in return. And then De'Aaron Fox, now that he wants to figure out what he wants to do with free agency, now is a big hoopla about him wanting to make that move, even though they prioritized drafting 2 guards ahead of him. And then you fire Mike Brown, who turned this whole thing around in Sacramento, who got them playing winning basketball and establishing a presence on the basketball court. And then they fire him thinking things are going to change in what way? And in
And they
my
won
mind,
that
I'm like,
playoff series. That was the first time in since the what was it, the early 2000s, right? If I'm not
correct.
mistaken.
He established a culture. He established, like the beam, he established a culture in Sacramento, and they got rid of him. Why? Why? Like, what are we saying here? Like, it doesn't make any sense that the moves that they make, and it all starts with the front office. The front office is not making the right roster moves to fix things. They still haven't brought a center to complement Sabonis. They got Sabonis playing the 5 at 6'8". What do you want him to do? They can't defend nobody. He can score. He can get some tough buckets. He's not like, what are you doing? They got Keegan Murray playing out of position. They want him. The front office got him playing differently because the last 2 years he was playing phenomenal basketball. Mike Brown had him playing good, fast break basketball. Then everything changed. They brought in DeMar DeRozan. Why? What was the reason to bring in DeMar? And then people are trying to say DeMar DeRozan's a coach killer because he got Dwayne Casey fired after a coach of the year, and now you got Mike Brown fired after a coach of the year. Like, what are we like? What exactly are we doing? There was a bad fit from the beginning. You don't bring in a guy who primarily scores within the 3-point line to complement De'Aaron Fox. You needed a shooter, space out the floor, get somebody. They should have went hard to go after Mikal Bridges, to go after OG Anunoby, to go after these other wings that's available. Trey Murphy's available. Like, there's guys out there they could have went out there to complement De'Aaron Fox to help this team reach another level. They didn't make the right moves, and now they're paying the consequences. So instead of saying, all right, we got to do something better, we have to make these moves, no, we fire Mike Brown. Why? Because then De'Aaron Fox still going to leave. Why now more than ever? Why would De'Aaron Fox want to stay in Sacramento? You fired the one coach who got him playing great basketball, who got him playing at a level that everyone saw him at before. Everyone was looking at De'Aaron Fox like, yo, he might be the next best guard in the league. Mike Brown had him playing it back at that level, and now you remove the guy who got him playing at that level. So now what's the thing? What are you doing? Because why would De'Aaron Fox want to come back to Sacramento? He could go anywhere else to get paid. He could go to Orlando and get paid. He go anywhere in the world to get paid and contend He wanted to do it in Sacramento, and you just removed the one chance he has to do it. Man, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I just want to pick up real quickly here because clearly the Kings didn't need shot creation, right? They didn't need any creation. They have that in De'Aaron Fox, right? Even Sabonis is a creator, right? You can put him in that category as well. They didn't need DeMar DeRozan, clearly. They needed a guy that could defend multiple positions and potentially just be a spot-up shooter. Somebody like that. Somebody with that, caliber of skill set and bag, right?
Yep.
And clearly, like I said before, we don't see a lot of recently on-board trades for on-board guys. We see a lot of trades for high-level wings. Mikal Bridges, Finney Smith just went to the Lakers, right? OG Anunoby a couple years ago or last year, right? We see those type of trades because every team pretty much has an on-board guy that dominates usage. Okay, so now you just want to supply those guys with guys that can play compatible to those guys, right? And clearly the Kings should have got the memo. They made that trade, and I think that trade really put them in a deeper hole than where they would have been if they didn't make the trade and if they made the alternative trade for a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith. But my point that I want to end off here, it's just the NBA, bro. The way how they do these coaches, even the kid, not the kid, the guy Adrian Griffin, on the Bucks, the way how they did him when Giannis said I wanted that guy, and then all of a sudden Giannis don't want that guy anymore. I mean, I just think it's unprofessional. The NBA is unprofessional.
Yeah,
okay.
they say that part.
When it comes to not only what they do with the coaches, how they allow these players to not play in games, when it comes to the game starting on late. I mean, you're telling me the game is at 7:00. I'm expecting it to be on at 7:00, not 7:15, 7:20. I mean, it's unprofessional. Let's just call a spade a spade. And this is part of the reason, right? It may be a small percentage, right? Maybe a little pebble, but this is a reason why the NBA ratings are low. And not the main reason, okay? But it's one of the reasons why the NBA views are low.
Real quick, I want to say something, right? The Kings had opportunities to fix that roster in this offseason. They could have went after, instead of going after DeMar DeRozan, they could have went out and got KCP, a space out shooter, championship pedigree. They could have went out and got Alex Caruso, traded, championship pedigree, defense, 3-point shooter. They could have went out there and paid for Isaiah Hartenstein, who just got paid by OKC. You see what he's doing over there? Center.
I mean, look at these trades. That's another prime example. Caldwell Pope, the Magic traded for him. Those same caliber of guys. Yep. But look, my last point here, because my guy Kenny, I'm gonna pull up his comment about De'Aaron Fox. Obviously, he requested a trade. That's another topic within this topic. So, where if we could give one team that we think he should go, where should it be? If a trade should trade for him and it fits well,
man.
Whoever want to go first? Because I'm thinking Houston off the top of my head. I'm thinking Houston because they linked to a trade. I understand they got Fred VanVleet, but they could move off from him.
Absolutely.
So I would go with the Rockets if I had to go with a team.
I got an unorthodox spot. I think this is something that I believe would be a reunion if he was to go there. Miami. He'll reunite with Bam Adebayo, what they used to play in college. I think that would be a huge move for Miami because that kind of rejuvenates the youth movement with Tyler Hero, Nikola Jokic, something like that. I think in that nature. I think Miami will be good because now it also nixes that narrative that Miami doesn't attract big time free agents, right? So now you get in De'Aaron Fox with a Bam Adebayo, you could probably start bringing in talent over there that want to play in Miami because a lot of the players are rather veterans on crazy deals or guys that they drafted or undrafted free agents. So I think that could spice it up. And Eric Spoelstra, that'll probably be the best guard he's had since Dwayne Wade.
Yo, I'll be honest with you, man. I agree with that one. Miami. I like Miami for him. I like that winning coach. I like the Pat Riley culture. I like the defensive culture.
What about Miami? San Antonio? Like Kenny brought up.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know if they, because they're not ready yet. They're not really ready yet.
I mean, San Antonio's trying to play through Wemby more often. So if you bring in De'Aaron Fox there, it removes that.
He's definitely going to stunt that because he's on ball.
It's going to be right.
In terms of like how the roster, it works perfectly because it gives a guard that they desperately need, someone who's active. But they got Stephon Castle, who could be a problem in this league when he matures, and as his year grows, because he's still a super young cat. But like De'Aaron Fox, he goes there, he trumps all of that, and takes to shine from Wemby, because De'Aaron Fox, not only is he an aggressive guard, he looks to score, but he's getting the ball in a crunch time. He's getting the ball in the last 5 minutes. Now, I'm not saying Wemby's egotistical, that he has a problem with that, but you brought him in there to be the kind of jack of all trades. He does everything through. You play through Wemby, not Wemby. You play like the AD role, hit the side. I'll get to you when we get to you, kind of thing.
Right. No, I agree.
San Antonio. All right. Cuzzo, you got a team you want to throw out there before we move on, or
no? I couldn't find one, but I like the Miami though. I like the Miami form. I thought the Miami fit would be good.
Zay, what you think about the Houston that I brought up real quickly?
I think Houston's a great culture with Ime Udoka. I think that feeds that how they want to play, fast pace, up and down court. It kind of sets them up for the post Fred VanVleet era, and possibly even post Jalen Green era, because Jalen Green, he's a high volume scorer and he needs the ball himself. So if they bring in De'Aaron Fox, you can start to look at them kind of phasing out VanVleet and Jalen Green, and now start focusing on more Cam Whitmore, on Jabari Smith, Sengun. I think that would be a dynamic young group with Ime Udoka like kind of leading the reins, because Ime Udoka likes to play fast basketball, smart, tactical, but he wants to move up and down the court as quickly as possible. And Swiper literally does that verbatim on both sides of the floor. So I think that kind of is a perfect scheme and fit. I got to see how the contracts work though, because De'Aaron Fox wants to get paid. He ain't going there for $80 million, so he wants to get his money. So I want to see how Houston kind of plays that cap space stuff, because they have to find a way to pay Sengun, and then I think Jabari Smith after that.
And you got guys like Whitmore and Shepard. I think they'll go out in a deal, because I'm not sure if Ime will have the minutes for them to continue to develop. So, obviously the package, in return would have to be enticing for the Kings still. But, as a player who wants out, sometimes it gets stuck up the organization, because it's a players league. So you kind of just take, what you can get. If he says, I want to go to Houston, we'll see if that still works, because it didn't work for Dame, right? It was working. Bradley Beal, I want to go here. Kevin Durant, I want to go here. And all that was being, obliged by. But then Dame tried to do it and it worked for Dame. We'll see. That's another, conversation in one where we could talk about, if that still works, where a player requests a trade and he has a desirable destination that he wants to go to. We'll see if that would be the thing.
I got one last question. Do you believe that the firing was triggered by A, De'Aaron Fox saying, I don't want to come back to Sacramento, or B, that De'Aaron Fox said, in order for me to come back, you got to fire the coach?
I think it's B. The reason why I think it's B is because, to me, a lot of these players, if De'Aaron Fox said I wanted Mike Brown, then I think Mike Brown will still be there.
Yep.
Because that's the same thing with Giannis and Adrian Griffin. Even though Giannis wanted Adrian Griffin from the beginning, I mean, you have to go to these players to get their approval. Most organizations do. They get the stamp of approval. Right. It's these players that try to hide behind the decision and act like they had no parts of it. Oh, I ain't do it. No, I ain't say nothing. I know.
That's exactly what I said. These players go up to the GM's office, talking about, I ain't signing back with y'all unless y'all get this coach. It's that culture, that part of the NBA is horrible, bro. It's really horrible.
Yeah, it is. And that's what goes on in the NBAs. I've seen it too many times.
Yeah,
because these players have a lot of power. So if they want a coach, trust me, if he wanted Mike Brown back, I think Mike Brown will be back.
Easy.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.